Aloha from the beautiful Big Island of Hawaii. I'm Cori Gala, Holistic Beauty and Wellness Consultant. I'm standing here today next to an old-growth Ohia lehua tree. This tree is probably 500 to 1,000 years old. The Ohia lehua is an endemic species of Hawaii and has beautiful red or yellow blossoms that make delicious honey. This is the third video in a series of videos that I'm doing on hormones and their effect on the skin. In the last video, I briefly mentioned a little bit about bioidentical hormones and hormone therapy for helping to alleviate the symptoms of premenopause and menopause, especially those troubles that are seen on the skin. I wanted to go into just a little bit more detail today about bioidentical hormones, natural hormone therapy, and my personal choice for helping to alleviate symptoms related to hormonal imbalance. The first thing I wanted to discuss was a little bit about bioidentical hormones and to really clarify that bioidentical hormones are a synthetic hormone, and it is something that's prescribed by the doctor, but they are not natural. It's just that they're manufactured in a lab to be almost identical to human DNA. That's one of the reasons that it cannot be patented and it has to be compounded in a pharmacy because you cannot patent human DNA. They are a much better alternative, in my opinion, than just taking hormone therapy that the doctor prescribes, such as a birth control pill or estrogen patch or any of those other prescription medications that you can get, because those are actually manufactured from other substances. I don't know, horse urine is one of that comes to mind. So they are not very close at all in nature to what our natural hormone state is. A lot of naturopathic doctors, a lot of alternative practitioners like to work with the bioidentical hormones because they're able to really track the hormone levels and adjust according to the need, because it can be standardized, and that way they can measure the dosage. With herbal formulations, you are dealing with the kind of the hormones of the plant, and so there is the opinion that plant hormones are very different than human hormone, and so some natural practitioners don't like to work with herbal formulations because they can't standardize them. They can't they can't measure them in a traditional way with blood work or saliva. Herbal formulations can be very beneficial, but again, anytime you're adding in hormones to the body, you need to be monitoring the blood, because the shift can be up and down. There can be this seesaw between high levels of progesterone, high levels of estrogen, low levels of testosterone, and it just kind of can go back and forth. So it's a really tricky way of dealing with the body. This is an approach to balancing the hormones that if you do have a good physician, you do have a good naturopath, you do have a good herbalist who's working with you regularly and helping you monitor your levels, it can alleviate quite a few of the symptoms. But it is a constant work, and it can take a while for things to kind of even out. I believe that if you are having really challenging symptoms, this may be a good approach. But the one thing that I really like to look at, and I like to have my clients look at, is really lifestyle and diet, the amount of rest that they're getting, their nutritional levels, and try to shift away from the hormone therapy as quickly as possible and into a perhaps different lifestyle, so that they can have a more sustainable situation where they're not constantly having to be on the phone with their doctor or naturopath and figure out what's going on with their hormone levels. One of the recommendations I like to make is getting to bed early, for example, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock is even a little bit late. Being in bed by 9, winding down, taking a calming tea in the evening, and really making sure that you get your rest so that you're supporting your adrenal glands. Cutting back or eliminating alcohol is another really big one. And I mentioned in the last video essential fatty acids. I go into a much greater detail in my book as far as dietary recommendations, lifestyle recommendations, and ways of alleviating symptoms. And I also go more specifically into skin concerns. One I'll mention briefly is melasma, or pigmentation, or a darkening of the skin, dark patches on the skin. Pregnancy mask is what it's been called. There's two ideas behind this, and I think that they play off of each other. From an Eastern medicine perspective, the darker patches are really kind of an indicator of a little bit of liver exhaustion. So one of the ways to look at that would be with a liver cleanse. Cleansing the system can allow the endocrine system to function properly. From a Western perspective, a lot of naturopathic doctors say that it's related to hormones, and that's true as well. When a woman's pregnant, it has to do with the hormones, but there's been a lot of studies that show that folic acid can alleviate that problem, and folic acid supports the liver directly. One of the things that happens when a woman's pregnant is that the liver starts processing a lot more toxins, because the liver is actually processing for the baby and the mother as well. So in both ways, it's a good idea to really think about detoxing the liver. And one really kind of easy way to help with melasma, it's kind of an old, I guess, herbal remedy, but works wonders, is a little bit of lemon juice on dark patches. There are topical bleaching agents, which I'm not really a fan of. One of them is hydroquinone, which makes the skin extremely sensitive to the sun and has been linked actually to skin cancer. Anytime you're using a bleaching cream, you have to really avoid the sun, but it does sensitize the skin. Kojic acid is a natural bleaching agent for the skin, and in small amounts it can be beneficial. Also exfoliating the skin a little bit more. But again, anytime that you're doing anything that's very invasive on the skin, you have to be very, very careful of the sun and sun exposure. So I hope that that information is beneficial and helpful to you. I thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next wellness video. Aloha.